Welcome back to the channel, Rarest Coins. Today, we're going to take a closer look at a coin that millions of Americans have handled without ever thinking twice. The 1967 Lincoln penny. On the surface, it looks like any other old penny you might find in a handful of change. But according to some online stories, one of these coins sold for a jaw-dropping $2.70 million. Is that even possible? Could a simple 1-cent coin from 1967 really be worth that much money? Or is this just another viral rumor with no facts behind it? In this video, we're going to explore the full story behind the 1967 Lincoln penny. We'll cover its history, design, composition, value, and rare errors. Most importantly, we'll break down the truth behind the multi-million-dollar claim and help you understand which versions of the 1967 penny are actually worth money and what to look for in your own collection. Let's start with the basics. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. From 1909 to 1958, the reverse of the penny featured 2 wheat ears, which is why those coins are commonly known as wheat pennies. These are highly collectible today, and certain key dates can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. But starting in 1959, the reverse design changed. The U.S. Mint introduced the Lincoln Memorial on the back of the penny, replacing the wheat ears. This new design stayed in use all the way through 2008. So, to clear up the confusion, the 1967 penny is not a wheat penny. It's part of the Lincoln Memorial cent series. Still, many people mistakenly call all older Lincoln pennies wheat pennies, and that confusion shows up all over the internet. Now, let's talk about what makes the 1967 penny unique. First off, you'll notice there's no mint mark on the 1967 penny. No D for Denver, no S for San Francisco, nothing under the date. That's not an error. That was intentional. In the mid-1960s, the U.S. Mint temporarily removed all mint marks from coins to discourage hoarding and speculation caused by the coin shortage at the time. So whether your 1967 penny came from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, it will not have a mint mark. That applies to all coins from that year. As for composition, the 1967 penny is made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. It weighs 3.11 grams and has the familiar reddish-brown color of classic copper coins. Because it was made before the switch to copper-plated zinc in 1982, the 1967 penny has a bit more metal value than newer pennies. But again, you're not legally allowed to melt pennies for scrap metal. The Mint produced over 3 billion Lincoln cents in 1967, which makes this a very common coin. In circulated condition, the typical 1967 penny is worth face value, just 1 cent. However, when we start talking about condition, errors, and special varieties, the value can rise dramatically. Let's explore the possible ways your 1967 penny might be worth real money. First up, high-grade coins. If you happen to have a 1967 penny in mint state condition, meaning it has never been in circulation and shows no signs of wear, it could be worth significantly more than a cent. Collectors are always looking for high-grade examples of common coins, especially if they're certified by professional grading companies like PCGS or NGC. A 1967 penny graded MS67 or higher, with strong red coloring and no flaws, can sell for hundreds or even over $1,000 at auction. One such coin, a 1967 Lincoln cent graded MS67 red, sold for over $2,000 at a public auction. So yes, a common penny can become valuable if it's in exceptional condition. Next, let's talk about error coins. This is where things get really interesting. Mint errors are mistakes made during the coin production process, and they can make ordinary coins extremely valuable. Some of the most collectible errors include off-center strikes, when the coin's design is struck off to one side, creating a crescent-shaped blank area. The more off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin, especially if the date is still visible. Double die errors. This occurs when the design on the coin appears doubled, usually visible in the lettering or numbers. While there isn't a widely recognized double die for the 1967 penny, there are some lesser-known varieties that show slight doubling and can be worth more to collectors. Clipped planchets, when a portion of the coin is missing due to a mishap during the blank cutting process. These odd-shaped coins can fetch premiums depending on how dramatic the clip is. broad strikes, and die cracks. These are other types of minting errors that can make a coin unique and valuable. So, if you find a 1967 penny with any of these characteristics, it's worth holding on to and possibly having it examined by a professional. Now let's address the big question. What about the claim that a 1967 penny sold for $2.70 million? Let's be clear. There is no official record of a 1967 Lincoln penny selling for $2.7 million. That number likely comes from viral misinformation, clickbait articles, fake headlines, or social media videos that confuse or exaggerate real coin sales. There are coins that have sold for millions. For example, the 1943 bronze penny, which was a mint error from World War II, has sold for over $1 million in private and public auctions. Other million-dollar coins include the 1794 silver dollar and the 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle. But those are rare coins with unique historical significance. While it's not true that a 1967 penny has sold for $2.7 million, that doesn't mean your coin is worthless. Far from it. With the right error, the right condition, and the right buyer, a 1967 Lincoln cent can still bring in real money. Here's what you should do if you want to check your 1967 penny's value. First, inspect the coin carefully under good lighting. Look for signs of doubling, off-center strikes, cracks, or anything that looks unusual. Next, weigh the coin. It should weigh 3.11 grams. If it weighs much less or more, you might have something struck on the wrong planchet. If your coin appears flawless and still has its full red luster, you may want to have it professionally graded. While grading costs money, it can dramatically increase your coin's value and appeal to serious collectors. To wrap this up, the 1967 Lincoln penny is not a wheat penny, and it probably won't make you a millionaire overnight. But it still holds value for collectors, especially in mint state, with strong eye appeal, or with rare minting errors. Keep searching, keep learning, and keep checking your change. Because even if you don't strike it rich, the thrill of discovering a hidden treasure is something every collector can enjoy. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want more deep dives into rare coins, valuable finds, and collecting tips, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell so you never miss a video. Have you ever found a rare penny in your change? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious, stay sharp, and happy collecting. Let me know if you want this script adapted into a YouTube short, voiceover, or blog version. Welcome back to the channel. Rarest Coins. Today, we're diving into the fascinating story of a coin that millions of people have touched, carried, and spent without ever thinking twice. We're talking about the 1980 Lincoln penny. It's a coin so common that most people wouldn't think twice about tossing it into a tip jar or dropping it on the ground. But what if I told you that one of these coins has been rumored to be worth as much as $2.5 million? It sounds unbelievable. A 1-cent coin turning into a multi-million-dollar treasure? Today, we're going to uncover the real story behind the 1980 Lincoln penny. We'll explore its true history, why some people mistakenly call it a wheat penny, what kinds of rare errors and varieties exist, and whether or not that $2.5 million story holds any truth. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for and whether you could be sitting on a small fortune. Let's start with the history. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. It was the first regular U.S. coin to feature a real person. From 1909 to 1958, the reverse of the coin featured 2 stylized wheat ears. Those are what we now call wheat pennies, and they are highly collectible, especially certain rare dates and mint marks. But in 1959, the U.S. Mint changed the design. To celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday, the wheat ears were removed and replaced with the Lincoln Memorial. That's the design that appears on the reverse of the 1980 penny. So despite what you might have seen online or heard in conversation, the 1980 penny is not a wheat penny. It's part of the Lincoln Memorial series. Now let's talk about what makes the 1980 penny interesting. Over 12 billion Lincoln cents were minted in 1980 between the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Philadelphia pennies do not have a mint mark, while the Denver ones do, a small letter D beneath the year. So yes, the coin is extremely common. But like most coins, it's the exceptions, the errors, the rare varieties, and the condition that determine its true value at first glance. a 1980 penny might just seem like another copper-colored coin. But in reality, 1980 was one of the last years that U.S. pennies were made primarily from 95% copper. That makes it different from later coins, which switched to a cheaper zinc core starting in 1982. This copper content means that even a worn 1980 penny has a melt value higher than 1 cent. However, melting coins for metal is illegal in the United States. Still, it's one of the reasons collectors have an eye on early 1980s pennies. But the real money is in the errors. And this is where the 1980 Lincoln cent gets really exciting. One of the most valuable errors to look for is a double die. This happens when the coin is struck by a die that has a doubled image, causing parts of the design, like the date, the word Liberty, or Lincoln's profile, to appear duplicated. While there isn't a widely known, dramatic double die for the 1980 penny like there is for 1955 or 1984, some examples of minor doubling do exist. If you find a 1980 penny with clear doubling, it could be worth hundreds or even thousands, depending on its condition and the strength of the doubling. Another error to keep your eyes open for is an off-center strike. This is when the coin design is not centered on the blank planchet. Depending on how off-center the coin is, and whether the full date is still visible, it could be worth anywhere from $50 to several $100s. The more dramatic the off-center, the more collectors will pay. Then there are broad strikes, where the coin was struck without the retaining collar in place, causing it to spread out more than usual. These coins can also command premiums depending on condition and severity. Let's not forget about wrong planchet errors. Imagine finding a 1980 penny that was accidentally struck on a dime blank, making it smaller and silver-colored, or perhaps on a foreign coin planchet. These types of mistakes are extremely rare, but they do happen, and when they do, the value can shoot into the thousands. Now, let's talk about the rumor that a 1980 penny sold for $2.50 million. This claim has been shared across social media and even on a few clickbait websites, often without any real evidence. So far, there is no confirmed auction or public sale of any 1980 penny reaching anywhere near $2.5 million. Most likely, this number came from confusion with another rare coin, possibly the 1943 bronze Lincoln penny, which has sold for hundreds of thousands or even over $1 million in private sales. That coin is a well-documented error from World War II when the mint mistakenly used bronze planchets instead of the intended steel ones. Unfortunately, these kinds of mix-ups are common online. The $2.5 million story gets shared and reshared without fact-checking, and before long, people start believing that a regular 1980 penny is worth millions. But here's the real truth: that a perfect condition 1980 Lincoln penny, graded MS 67 or higher, has sold for over $1,000. These are very rare because most coins in circulation have scratches, dings, or discoloration. Finding a flawless example is extremely difficult. One such penny graded MS 67 read by PCGS or NGC can command serious money at auction because registry collectors are always looking to complete the highest quality sets. So here's what you need to do. If you have a 1980 penny, start by checking its condition. If it's scratched or worn, it likely only has face value, maybe a couple cents because of the copper content. But if it looks crisp, clean, and uncirculated, hold on to it. Next, examine the coin closely with a magnifying glass. Look for doubling in the letters and numbers. Look for anything off-center or oddly shaped. Weigh the coin as well. A genuine 1980 copper penny should weigh around 3.11 grams. If it weighs less or looks different, you could be looking at a rare mint error. If you believe you found something special, consider submitting the coin to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They can confirm if it's a mint error or high-grade specimen and give it a certified value, which could open the door to serious collectors and high-dollar sales. So what's the final verdict on the 1980 Lincoln penny? It's not a weak penny. It's not selling for $2.5 million, but it's not worthless either. There are real opportunities to find value in this coin, whether it's through rare mint errors, condition, or unusual strikes. The key is knowing what to look for, being patient, and always checking your change. Because you never know. The next valuable penny might just be hiding in plain sight. Thanks for watching. If you learned something new today, or just enjoy the thrill of the hunt for rare coins, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming coin videos. Have you ever found a strange or valuable penny in your change? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, keep collecting, stay curious, and happy hunting. Let me know if you'd like to turn this into a YouTube description, a short version, or a blog post. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the incredible story of a coin that has sparked curiosity, confusion, and even obsession among collectors and casual treasure hunters alike. We're talking about the 1984 Lincoln penny. You might be wondering how a small 1-cent coin could ever be worth more than a couple of cents. But according to rumors and wild headlines, one of these coins has sold for as much as $2.4 million. Sounds unbelievable, right? Well, today we're going to uncover the truth, explore the history, dig into the facts, and see if there's any chance you might have a fortune sitting in your coin jar right now. Let's start with the basics. The Lincoln cent has been a staple of American pocket change since 1909. Originally introduced to honor President Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, the design has changed over the years, but Lincoln has remained the face of the coin. From 1909 to 1958, the reverse of the penny featured 2 wheat ears, which is why we call those the wheat pennies. After that, from 1959 to 2008, the design switched to the Lincoln Memorial on the back, which is the version most of us grew up with. That means the 1984 penny is part of the memorial cent era, not the wheat penny era. However, the nickname wheat penny still gets used online when people talk about all Lincoln pennies, which causes a lot of confusion. Now let's talk about the 1984 specifically. This coin was minted in Denver, as shown by the small letter D under the date. Over 5.5 billion of these pennies were produced that year, making it one of the most common Lincoln cents of the 1980s. At first glance, that doesn't sound like a coin that should be worth more than 1 cent, let alone $2.4 million. So where is this huge value coming from? The answer lies in a mixture of truth, rarity, error coins, and internet confusion. You see, there are some pennies out there that are truly worth millions. One example is the legendary 1943 bronze Lincoln penny. That coin was supposed to be made of steel because of wartime metal shortages, but a few copper planchets got struck by mistake. One of those coins sold for nearly $2 million at auction. That's real. That's documented. And that's where the $2.4 million figure likely comes from. Somewhere along the way, articles, videos, and social media posts started to mix up the 1984 penny with the famous 1943 bronze penny. This created a myth that the 1984 penny itself had sold for millions. So, is the 1984 penny worth that kind of money? The honest answer is no, not exactly. But that doesn't mean it's worthless either. In fact, there are some versions of the 1984 Lincoln penny that can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And if you find one in exceptional condition or with the right kind of error, it could be worth even more. Let's take a look at the most valuable varieties of the 1984 penny. First and most famous is the double die error. In this case, doubling occurs when the coin is struck with a misaligned die, creating a blurry or doubled appearance, especially in the details of Lincoln's face. The most well-known example of this is the 1984 double die penny from the Philadelphia Mint, not the Denver one. On that coin, you can clearly see doubling in Lincoln's ear, giving him the appearance of having a second earlobe. Coins with this error in mint condition have sold for over $2,000. Now, while the most dramatic doubling is found on the 1984 penny without the D mint mark, some collectors still search 1984 coins for minor doubling or other unusual features. This includes off-center strikes, die cracks, cuds, and repunched mint marks. These are real errors, and they can add serious value to an otherwise common coin. Another important factor is the coin's condition. A 1984 Lincoln penny in average circulated condition is worth just about 1 cent. But if you find one that has never been used and has a flawless red luster, it could be worth significantly more. Coins in mint state condition, graded MS65 or higher by PCGS or NGC, have been known to sell for anywhere between $50 to over $1,000 depending on the market and how perfect the coin is. In fact, an extremely high-grade 1984 Lincoln penny graded MS68 red sold at auction for over $1,200. While the 1984 Lincoln penny isn't worth $2.4 million, The idea that it's just a worthless coin is also false. Rare errors, high grades, and collector demand can all make this coin quite valuable. It just depends on what you have and the condition it's in. Here's what you should do if you have a 1984 D penny and you're wondering if it's valuable. First, look at Lincoln's ear closely with a magnifying glass or coin loop. If you see signs of doubling, you might have something special. Second, check for any oddities like off-center designs, cracks, or other visual errors. And finally, if your coin looks almost brand new, you may want to have it graded by a professional grading company. That can greatly increase its value and make it easier to sell to collectors. In conclusion, the 1984 D Lincoln penny is not a $2.4 million coin, but it's not something to ignore either. Whether it's an error variety or a pristine mint state example, there is still real money to be made. And perhaps the most exciting part is that these coins are still out there. They could be in your change jar, in an old drawer, or even in your pocket right now. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, educational, or just plain interesting, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more stories about rare coins, valuable finds, and hidden treasures. Drop a comment below if you've ever come across a strange penny or want us to cover a specific coin in a future video. Until next time, keep searching, stay curious, and happy collecting. Let me know if you'd like a version optimized for shorts, a voiceover read, or turned into a blog article. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about one of the most searched coins on the internet, the 1989 Lincoln penny. It's a coin so common that millions of people have it in their change. Yet some stories claim one of these pennies sold for an unbelievable $2.3 million. So is there truth to that number? Can a simple 1-cent coin from 1989 really be worth more than $2 million? Or is it just another internet rumor? Let's break it all down. We're going to look at the true history of the 1989 penny, why some people call it a wheat penny even though it's not, what errors and varieties make it valuable, and of course, we'll dig into that $2.3 million claim and find out if there's any truth to it. Let's start with the basics. The Lincoln cent has been in circulation since 1909. It was originally created to celebrate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. From 1909 to 1958, the reverse of the penny showed 2 wheat stalks along the sides with the words 1 cent and United States of America in the middle. That's where we get the term wheat penny. These are the older, collectible pennies that many people hunt for in coin rolls and old collections. But starting in 1959, the design changed. The wheat design was retired and replaced with the Lincoln Memorial on the back of the coin. That memorial design lasted from 1959 all the way until 2008. So technically speaking, the 1989 penny is not a wheat penny at all. It's a Lincoln Memorial cent. However, because Lincoln appears on the front and because people often refer to all older pennies as wheat pennies, the term gets used incorrectly all the time online. Now let's talk about the 1989 Lincoln penny itself. In that year, over 7 billion pennies were minted between the Philadelphia and Denver mints. That makes it a very common coin in terms of total production. Most of these coins were made from copper-plated zinc. This is important because since 1982, the U.S. Mint stopped making pennies from mostly copper. Instead, they switched to a cheaper metal core, zinc, and just plated it with copper. So most 1989 pennies are not full copper. But here's where things start to get interesting. In any mass production process, mistakes happen. And with billions of coins being made, there are always a few that slip through the cracks with unusual features, known as mint errors. These error coins are what get collectors really excited because they are rare, hard to find, and often extremely valuable. So what kinds of 1989 penny errors exist? One of the most desirable is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin isn't properly aligned during the striking process, so the design ends up being off to one side. The more off-center it is, and the more of the design still visible, the more valuable the coin. A dramatic off-center 1989 penny can sell for anywhere from $50 to several $100, depending on condition and the exact percentage of the off-center strike. Another valuable error to look for is the broad strike. In this error, the retaining collar that normally holds the coin in place during minting malfunctions. This causes the coin to be struck without its usual round border, giving it a flattened and stretched look. These are less common but can bring in solid value from collectors. Then there are double die errors. This is when the coin shows doubling of the image or letters, usually caused by a misalignment between strikes during the minting process. The most famous double-die pennies are from other years, like 1955 and 1984, but people still search 1989 pennies hoping to find similar doubling. Even slight doubling on letters or numbers can catch a collector's eye and fetch extra value. Another error to be aware of is the wrong planchet error. This is when a penny is accidentally struck on a coin blank mint for another denomination. For example, a penny struck on a dime planchet will be smaller and missing part of the design. These errors are very rare, but they are real and can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. The rumor that a 1989 Lincoln penny sold for $2.3 million. Is it true? Has anyone really paid that much for a modern penny? The short answer is no. There is no public record of any 1989 penny ever selling for that kind of money. That number likely came from a viral post or a misleading video that mixed up facts from different coins. You see, there are pennies from other years that have sold for massive amounts. For example, a 1943 bronze penny sold for close to $2 million at auction. That penny was supposed to be struck in steel, not bronze, during World War II, and only a few exist. It's one of the rarest and most valuable U.S. coins ever made. There's also the 1909 SVDB penny, the first year of the Lincoln cent, which in high grades can be worth tens of thousands of dollars. But these are very specific and very rare coins. The $2.3 million claim attached to the 1989 penny is most likely a misunderstanding or a case of clickbait. That said, there are still valuable versions of the 1989 penny out there. For example, a 1989 Lincoln penny graded MS69 red by a professional grading service could sell for hundreds or even over $1,000, simply because of its perfect condition. High-grade modern coins are in demand by registry collectors who compete to assemble the finest known sets. So what should you be looking for in your 1989 pennies? First, check the coin for any obvious visual errors. Look at the date and mint mark closely. Use a magnifying glass if you need to. Look for signs of doubling, off-center strikes, or unusual shapes. Second, check the weight. A regular 1989 penny should weigh around 2.5 grams. If you find one that weighs closer to 3.1 grams, you might have a rare full copper planchet penny, which would be a serious find. Third, look at the overall condition. If the coin looks brand new, with no scratches, no wear, and full red color, it might be worth sending to a professional coin grading company like PCGS or NGC. The grading process does cost money, but it can also dramatically increase the resale value of a rare or high-grade coin. So, what's the final word on the 1989 Lincoln penny? It's not a wheat penny. It's not worth $2.3 million, but it's still a coin worth paying attention to. With the right error, the right condition, and the right buyer, it could be worth hundreds or even thousands. And since billions of them are still floating around out there, it just might be hiding in your change, your drawer, or that old coin jar you haven't looked at in years. Thanks for watching. If you found this video interesting, educational, or eye-opening, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into rare coins, valuable errors, and collectible finds. Let me know in the comments if you've ever found a strange or valuable penny. We've got more great videos coming up, so stay tuned, and as always, happy collecting. Let me know if you'd like this converted into a voiceover script, turned into subtitles, or broken down for use in a YouTube short or TikTok. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most mysterious and talked about pennies from the 1980s, the 1986 Lincoln penny. Some people say it's just an ordinary coin. Others claim one of these sold for a jaw-dropping $2.2 million. You might be wondering, how can a 1-cent coin possibly be worth that kind of money? Could you have one sitting in a coin jar or hiding in your pocket right now? Well, in this video, we're going to take a deep dive into the history of the 1986 Lincoln penny, explore what makes certain coins from that year rare and valuable, explain the truth behind the $2.2 million rumor, and show you exactly what to look for in your own collection. Let's start with the basics. The Lincoln penny has been part of American currency since 1909. It was introduced to commemorate the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, and it became the first regular U.S. coin to feature a real person. From 1909 to 1958, the reverse side of the penny had 2 wheat stalks. That's what we now call the wheat penny. But in 1959, to honor Lincoln's 150th birthday, the design was changed. The wheat ears were replaced with the Lincoln Memorial, and that's the version we see on the 1986 penny. So technically, the 1986 Lincoln penny is not a wheat penny. But online, a lot of people still use the term wheat penny for any older Lincoln cent, which leads to some confusion. What we're really looking at here is a Lincoln Memorial cent, minted during the zinc era. That brings us to another important point. Since 1982, the composition of the penny changed. Prior to that year, pennies were made primarily from copper. But due to rising metal costs, the U.S. Mint switched to a cheaper metal, zinc, and coated the coin with a thin layer of copper. That means most 1986 pennies are actually copper-plated zinc. But here's where things get interesting. In rare cases, mistakes happen at the mint. And sometimes, pennies from 1986 were accidentally struck on leftover copper planchets from earlier years. If you happen to find one of these rare transitional error coins, it could be worth a lot of money, potentially thousands of dollars, depending on its condition and whether it's authenticated by a grading company. Now let's talk about the mint marks. The 1986 penny was produced at both the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint. The Philadelphia pennies do not have a mint mark. The Denver ones have a small letter D under the date. Both versions are extremely common in circulation, with billions minted. So by themselves, most 1986 pennies are only worth 1 cent. But as we mentioned earlier, the real value lies in the rare errors, high grades, and unusual minting mistakes. So what should you be looking for? The first major thing to watch for is off-center strikes. This is when the coin wasn't lined up correctly during the minting process. The design will be shifted to one side, and part of the blank planchet may still be visible. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin, especially if the full date is still visible. These errors can sell for anywhere from $50 to several hundred. Next, check for broad strikes. This happens when the coin is struck without the retaining collar in place, causing it to spread out wider than normal. These can also fetch strong prices, especially if the details are clear and the coin is in good shape. Another valuable error is the double die. This occurs when the die itself has been engraved or pressed twice, creating a doubling effect on the coin's design. Look closely at the letters in Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date. If they look like they have a shadow or doubled outline, you may be looking at a double die error. While major double dies are more common in other years, collectors still search 1986 pennies for minor doubling that could be valuable. You should also keep an eye out for wrong planchet errors. These are extremely rare, but can be worth a fortune. For example, if a penny was struck on a dime planchet or a foreign coin blank, it will look smaller and lighter than usual. These errors are highly collectible and have sold for hundreds or even thousands depending on the coin and its condition. And now, the question everyone wants answered. What about the claim that a 1986 penny sold for $2.2 million? Let's be honest here. There is no official record or verified auction that shows a 1986 penny selling for that amount of money. The story appears to have started online through viral videos and articles that may have mixed up the facts. It's very likely that the $2.2 million figure refers to a completely different coin, such as a rare 1943 bronze penny or another historic mint error. Over time, these stories get copied, changed, and passed around until they become urban legends. That doesn't mean you should ignore your 1986 pennies. In fact, there are still examples of this coin that have sold for very impressive amounts. A high-grade 1986 penny, especially one graded MS67 or MS68 read by PCGS or NGC, can sell for hundreds or even over $1,000 at auction. These high grades are rare because most coins from circulation show wear and scratches. To find one that looks flawless and has full red coloring is extremely difficult, which is why collectors are willing to pay so much for them. So what should you do if you think you found a rare or valuable 1986 penny? First, examine it under good lighting with a magnifying glass. Look for signs of doubling, off-center strikes, or anything unusual in the design. Next, weigh it. A regular copper-plated zinc penny should weigh about 2.5 grams. If it weighs closer to 3.1 grams, you might have one that was struck on a copper planchet, which could be a very valuable error. And finally, consider sending your coin to a professional grading service. Companies like PCGS and NGC will authenticate and grade your coin, giving it official status in the collector market. To wrap things up, the 1986 Lincoln Penny may not be the $2.2 million treasure some people claim it is, but it's definitely a coin worth looking at more closely. With the right error or the right grade, your humble penny could be worth far more than face value. And the best part? These coins are still out there. They're in your change, in old jars, maybe even hidden in your desk drawer right now. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about rare coins, valuable finds, and the fascinating world of US currency, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Drop a comment below if you've ever found a strange or valuable penny. We'd love to hear your story. Until next time, keep checking your change, keep learning, and as always, happy collecting. If you'd like, I can format this into a YouTube description or turn it into a voiceover script. Just let me know.